The throne room was colder than any battlefield Ethan had ever stepped into. Stone walls stretched high, glowing with alien light, and every corner was filled with sharp eyes. The Queen's guards, tall armored and silent, stood with weapons. Ready, no one moved. No one breathed too loud. Ethan had been dragged here in chains after the last fight. He was supposed to be executed. At least that's what he thought. Instead, they brought him to her. The alien queen. She was nothing like he expected. Not monstrous, not cruel looking. She was tall, elegant, with silver skin that shimmered faintly under the throne's glow. Her armor was carved like living stone. Her crown heavy with sharp edges. She did not blink often. And she did not smile. Her eyes, they were cold, unblinking, and fixed on him as if she could see every secret he tried to bury. Ethan was tired. His body ached, his ribs burned with every breath. He knew one wrong word could end him. But he also knew silence was killing him faster. His heart was pounding so loud he thought even the guards could hear it. So he did what he always did when death was near. He made a joke. "You'd make my wife," he said, voice rough, cracked with exhaustion. It wasn't clever. It wasn't planned. Just a foolish, desperate spark of humor to cut the tension strangling him for a heartbeat. The room froze. The Queen tilted her head, her eyes narrowing slightly. No laughter. No fury. No smile. Just silence that pressed against Ethan's chest until he almost regretted speaking. And then her voice. Low. Steady. "I accept." The words rolled through the chamber like thunder. Ethan blinked. He thought maybe he misheard. Maybe his mind was broken from exhaustion. But no. Every guard shifted, their hands tightening on weapons. Every alien noble watching from the shadows stiffened. A ripple of shock passed through them, as if something sacred had been shattered. The Queen did not repeat herself. She simply stared, as if her answer was final. Ethan's mouth went dry. He wanted to laugh, to tell them it was a joke, but the weight of her eyes locked his tongue. This wasn't a woman who understood human humor. To her, a vow was a vow. And she had just accepted it. In front of all her people, whispers began, quick and sharp. "The Queen has spoken. She accepted the human's claim." Impossible. Ethan felt his stomach twist. Claim? Wife? No, he didn't mean it. He wanted to shout it out, but his voice felt trapped in his throat. He saw the guards looking at him differently, now not as a prisoner, but as something far more dangerous. The Queen rose from her throne. The sound of her armor echoed like breaking stone. She stepped down slowly, her long cloak dragging across the polished floor. Every step carried the weight of an empire. She stopped just in front of him. Her face was unreadable, her lips pressed in a straight line, her eyes sharp like blades. "A vow before my court," she said softly, only for him to hear, "cannot be broken." Ethan's blood turned to ice. He had seen death before. He had felt fear before, but this was different. He wasn't staring at an enemy anymore. He was staring at a bond he never wanted. He tried to speak, but her gaze silenced him. Her hand, cold, armored, lifted his chin. She looked at him as if weighing the truth of his soul. "Your bed or my throne," she whispered, so low that only he could hear. "Choose carefully." The silence that followed was heavier than any battle. Every alien eye was on them. Ethan could feel the weight of 1,000 judgments pressing into his back. He swallowed hard, his heart hammering like a war drum. What had he done? A joke, just a joke, and now his life was chained to a queen who never smiled. The guards shifted again, waiting for his answer. Waiting for him to either accept or die. Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to believe he still had a choice. But looking into her eyes, he knew the truth. There was no going back. And in that frozen silence, one thought screamed in his mind, louder than the fear. This wasn't just a joke anymore. Asterisk. The moment Ethan heard the Queen whisper, "Your bed or my throne," his blood turned to stone. It was not a question. It was a sentence. The guards around him still hadn't moved. They stood like statues, their eyes burning through their helmets. The nobles whispered from the shadows, their voices like snakes slithering across stone. Enfin. Caught fragments. The vow is sealed. He cannot escape now. A human consort? Consort, husband, prisoner. Every word carried the same weight chains. Ethan wanted to shout it was all a mistake, that humans joke in the face of death, that he hadn't meant it. But the Queen's eyes stopped him. They were sharp, unblinking, filled with something he couldn't read. Was it power, curiosity, or cruelty hidden behind silence? Her hand released his chin, and she turned away, cloak brushing against the floor like a tide pulling back into the sea. Without looking back, she raised one hand and spoke clearly to her court. "The vow has been heard. The human belongs to me," the chamber erupted. Gasps, whispers, hisses of disbelief. Even the guards twitched, as if shocked by her words. Ethan's chest tightened. Belongs? No, no, no. This was insane. Two guards stepped forward, unclasping his chains. For a second he thought they were going to execute him, but instead they dropped the metal restraints onto the floor. The heavy sound echoed like a verdict. He rubbed his wrists, staring. "Wait, you think this means silence?" The Queen's voice cut through his protest like a blade. Her tone wasn't angry. It was final. Ethan's jaw clenched, his throat dry. He had survived battles, betrayals, starvation, but never had he felt so trapped. He was free of chains, yet shackled by something far stronger, her word. The Queen turned to her council. "Prepare the rites." The words chilled him. Rites? For what? Marriage? Execution? A sacrifice dressed as a wedding. He couldn't tell. The aliens obeyed instantly. Some bowed. Others slipped away through dark doors. The throne room shifted, alive with murmurs. One guard nudged Ethan forward. He stumbled, glaring. "Where are you taking me?" "To the Queen's quarters," the guard replied, voice hollow through the mask. His stomach twisted. They led him down endless stone corridors lit by pale blue fire. Every alien they passed stopped to stare at him. Some spat curses. Others laughed cruelly. To them he wasn't a man, he was a symbol. A mistake. A joke turned into law. Finally, the guards opened a towering door carved with runes. Inside lay chambers, unlike anything he imagined, walls glowing faintly, curtains flowing like liquid, air heavy with strange scents. The Queen was waiting, armor removed, but still wrapped in layers of ceremonial cloth. Her silver skin glistened faintly under the light. Her crown rested on a pedestal nearby. Without it, she looked younger, but no less dangerous. She gestured to him. "Sit." He hesitated, then obeyed, lowering himself onto a stone bench. His pulse thundered in his ears. For a long moment, she studied him. Not with anger, not with kindness, with calculation. "You spoke a vow before my people," she said. "You bound yourself to me." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't mean it. Humans." "Your meaning does not matter," she interrupted. Her voice carried centuries of weight. "Only your words. In my world, words are stronger than steel. They cannot be broken without blood." He swallowed. The air felt heavier, pressing against his chest. "So, what now? You think I'm your husband?" Her eyes didn't blink. "By law, yes." Her tone was flat. No joy, no affection. Just truth. Ethan rubbed his face, trying to think, trying to breathe. "This is insane. I'm not one of you. Your people hate me. They will not touch you." She cut him off again, her tone colder than ice. "As long as you remain mine." Mine. The word clamped around his throat like iron. She stepped closer, shadows dancing across her face. "You must choose." she whispered again, just as in the throne room. My throne, or your bed. Ethan stared at her, trying to read her expression. But there was nothing. No smile. No warmth. No cruelty either. Just a wall of silence. Did she want power? Did she want him? Or was this a test? He licked his lips, heart racing. And if I choose neither? Her gaze sharpened. For the first time, her lips curved, not into a smile, but into something colder. A shadow of threat. Then you choose death. The words hung in the air like poison. Ethan's stomach dropped. He realized now this wasn't just survival anymore. This was a game of power. A game where his joke had trapped him as the queen's pawn. Or maybe her equal dot, and he had no way out. Ethan had spent his first night in chambers that did not feel like freedom. The queen's guards had left him inside, posted outside the doors like shadows that never slept. The room was vast, carved from black stone, filled with alien banners, with a bed too large for any human and too cold for comfort. He had expected chains. Instead, he got silk walls and silence. And her, the queen, entered at dawn, her movements precise, her face carved from stone. She wore no crown now, only simple armor that gleamed faintly in the strange morning light. Her hair, silver like her skin, was tied back with a blade-shaped clasp. Even dressed without ceremony, she radiated command. Ethan pushed himself up from the bench where he had been pretending to sleep. He braced for another demand, another reminder of the vow he had accidentally spoken into existence. Instead, she asked him a question. What does wife mean to a human? The words cut through the silence. Ethan blinked, caught off guard. You don't know? Her head tilted slightly, eyes unblinking. It has no equal word in my tongue. Explain. Ethan's throat tightened. He wasn't sure if she was mocking him or if she truly wanted to know. But the way she stood still, patient, waiting told him she demanded an answer. He rubbed the back of his neck. A wife. It means someone you share your life with. Your bed, your home, your heart, I guess. Her brow furrowed, but not with anger, more like confusion. Heart? Feelings, Ethan muttered. Love, trust, partnership, sometimes family. The queen considered this. For a moment, Ethan thought she might laugh at the weakness of it all. But she didn't laugh. She didn't even smile. Her face stayed locked, as if carved from the same stone as the throne behind her. Finally she said, Among my people, a vow of union is for power. Two bloodlines bound together. No love, no heart, only duty. Ethan studied her. She was a ruler feared by millions, a woman who commanded armies. But standing there, stripped of her crown, she looked less like a queen and more like a prisoner of her own traditions. You don't smile much, do you? He said before he could stop himself. The words slipped out sharp, and he regretted them instantly. The queen blinked slowly. For a heartbeat, Ethan thought she might strike him down. But instead, her gaze held steady. A smile is weakness. A ruler who smiles invites the blade of her enemies. Ethan swallowed. He wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, but he saw something in her eyes, a flicker, just for a second, of weariness. She had carried a crown that never allowed her joy. The silence stretched between them until she broke it with another question. Why did you jest before me? Were you mocking my throne, my people? Ethan shook his head quickly. No, humans. We make jokes when we're scared. I thought I was about to die. The words just slipped out. Her gaze sharpened. So you spoke of binding your life to mine out of fear? I spoke because I thought it wouldn't matter, Ethan admitted. His voice dropped low. But now it matters too much. The queen stepped closer. The distance between them shrank until he could see faint lines across her skin scars, hidden beneath silver light. Marks of battle, of survival. She carried them without shame, but they whispered of a life without rest. Her voice lowered. You fear me, yet you also defy me. Few men live long after doing both. Ethan's heart pounded. Every instinct told him to back away, but he held his ground. Maybe that's why you didn't kill me. You're tired of people who just obey. Her eyes narrowed, but there was no anger, only calculation. For the first time, Ethan thought he saw a crack in her mask, not a smile, not even softness. Just the faintest question lingering in her gaze. The silence broke with the sound of the chamber doors slamming open. A messenger stumbled inside, bowing low, his voice trembling. My queen, your council demands an answer. They say taking. The human breaks the old law. They want your word. Or your blood. The queen turned her head slowly, her cloak shifting like the shadow of a storm. She gave no reply at first. Ethan felt the air thicken with tension. He wasn't just caught in a game anymore. He was the game. His presence threatened her throne, her rule, maybe even her life. The queen finally spoke, her voice iron. Tell them the vow is sealed. Let them come if they dare. The messenger bowed, retreating quickly. The doors closed, leaving only silence again. Ethan exhaled shakily. They're going to kill me, and you too, maybe. The queen looked at him, expression unreadable. Then, you had better prove your worth, husband. Ethan froze. Husband. She said it flat, with no smile, no warmth. But the word carried more weight than chains. And for the first time he realized. The queen didn't need to smile to be terrifying. She only needed to speak. Asterisk, the nights in the queen's fortress were never truly dark. Alien fires burned in. The walls, casting silver-blue shadows that twisted like ghosts. Ethan lay awake on the massive stone bed, staring at the ceiling. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't forget her voice, her vow, or the word she had called him husband. He turned. On his side. The guards outside were still, their presence pressing through the doors. But it wasn't the guards keeping him awake. It was her. The queen had entered silently, hours after the council's challenge. She didn't announce herself, didn't demand his obedience. She simply stood at the edge of the room, removing her armor piece by piece. Ethan had pretended to close his eyes, but he couldn't stop watching. Beneath the armor, her body bore marks. Not just scars of battle, though. There were plenty but deeper carvings, ritual etchings that glowed faintly in the blue light. They traced across her shoulders, down her arms, even along her ribs. Strange alien symbols burned into her flesh. She thought he was asleep when she let out a breath. Not a sigh of weakness, but something sharper. A sound he realized was pain. He shifted slightly, and her head snapped toward him. Her eyes caught the light, cold and sharp. Awake? Ethan hesitated. Yeah, hard to sleep when your guards look like they want to kill me. Her gaze lingered on him, then she stepped closer. Her movements were smooth, controlled, yet there was something different tonight. Without the heavy crown, without the layered armor, she seemed less untouchable. She stopped a few steps away. Do you know why my people carve their rulers? Ethan frowned. Carve? She lifted her arm, turning it so the light revealed the glowing marks burned into her skin. Each scar is a law, each symbol, a burden of rule. We wear our throne in flesh, so we never forget its weight. Ethan's stomach turned. They did that to you? Her eyes stayed steady. Tradition did, and tradition never smiles. The words hung heavy in the room. Ethan sat up slowly, his chest tight. For the first time, he didn't just see a queen. He saw a prisoner bound by her own people's rituals. A ruler trapped in a body that was no longer hers. Why are you telling me this? He asked softly. The queen's expression didn't change. Because you called me wife, you spoke. A vow of heart. And I... She paused, her voice tightening just slightly. I have no heart left to give. The silence stretched. Ethan wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, but he saw the truth in her eyes. She had given everything her. Freedom, her body, her soul to a throne that never let her rest. And yet, for some reason, she was telling him. A human, the enemy, he leaned forward. Maybe that's why you need one. Her eyes flickered, a shadow of something unspoken crossing her face. She didn't answer, didn't smile, didn't soften. She simply turned away, walking to the balcony, where the alien night stretched endless across the sky. From behind, Ethan saw the scars covering her back, the glowing lines weaving together like a cage. His chest ached not just with fear, but with something else he didn't want to name. After a long silence, she spoke again. "In your world, do rulers carry marks?" Ethan shook his head. "No, in my world, scars are earned in battle, not forced in ceremony." She didn't move, her silver hair shifting in the wind. "Then perhaps your world is freer than mine." Ethan stood, stepping toward her before his fear could stop him. He reached out, hesitated, then placed a hand gently on her shoulder. The skin was warm under his touch, despite its metallic glow. She stiffened, turning her head slightly, her eyes narrowing. "Do not pity me, human. I don't," Ethan said quietly. "I just don't want to believe you have nothing left." Inside, for the first time since he met her, the Queen didn't reply immediately. Her lips parted as if words were there, but none came. She looked away instead, into the dark horizon. And then suddenly, the doors burst open. The guards stepped inside, their weapons drawn. One bowed quickly. "My queen, the council moves against you. They claim the vow has cursed the throne. They demand you release the human, or they will take your crown." The queen turned slowly, her face once again the mask of stone. The scars across her skin glowed brighter, like fire under ice. Ethan felt his blood run cold. Release? That meant his head on a spike. And if she refused, it meant war within her own walls. The queen looked at him. Her eyes didn't soften. But they didn't harden either. They simply asked a question in silence. Would he stand beside her, or would he let her fight alone? The queen did not flinch at the guard's warning. Her scars glowed faintly in the torchlight, her voice calm as stone. "Let the council plot. Let them sharpen their blades. They will learn that I do not bend." The guards bowed, retreating. But their hesitation told Ethan enough. The queen's enemies weren't waiting for morning. The rebellion was already moving in the shadows. When the doors closed again, silence returned. Heavy, suffocating. Ethan exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "You realize they'll come for me first, right? I'm the curse they're talking about." The queen turned her head, eyes unblinking. "Then you must survive," he laughed bitterly. "That's your plan? Just don't die?" She stepped closer. The air between them tightened like a bowstring. "If they believe you are weak, they will strike you to hurt me. But if they believe you are mine, truly mine, they will fear to touch you." Ethan froze. He understood what she was saying, but he couldn't believe it. "You want me to pretend we're husband and wife," she finished, her voice sharp, unwavering. "Not in word, in flesh." The chamber suddenly felt too small. Ethan's pulse hammered in his ears. He wanted to protest, to remind her this all started as a joke, but the weight in her eyes stopped him. She wasn't teasing. She wasn't bluffing. She was dead serious. "This isn't a game," Ethan muttered. "No," she agreed. "It is survival." She reached for him, then not roughly, not with command, but with purpose. Her fingers, cold from the night air, brushed against his wrist. For the first time, the Queen of Stone felt human, but there was no smile. There never was. Ethan's throat tightened. "What if I refuse?" Her eyes held his, unblinking. "Then you are nothing, a stray human, easy prey for my enemies. And when they cut you down, I will not be able to protect you." It wasn't a threat. It was the truth. The sound of footsteps echoed suddenly from outside, the guards shifting, voices rising. Someone was testing the doors. Ethan stiffened, his instincts screaming danger. The Queen leaned in, her voice a whisper colder than steel. "Choose, human. Do you claim me, or do you die as their joke?" Ethan's chest pounded. He had fought soldiers, beasts, even starvation. But this was something else. A trap he couldn't fight his way out of. Slowly, he nodded. "Fine. I'll play along." For now, something flickered in her eyes. Not victory, not relief, just acknowledgement. She stepped back, her expression once again the mask of command. "Then tonight you will lie beside me. Let them see. Let them believe. And when the whispers spread through the fortress, they will know you are not a prisoner. You are the Queen's consort." The words cut deep. Consort. Husband. Bound. Not by choice, but by survival. Ethan swallowed hard. He thought of the guards outside, of the council plotting, of the knives that would be waiting for him if he refused. Maybe lying in her bed was safer than facing those blades. Maybe. The Queen moved to the bed, her back to him. The long scars across her shoulders glowed faintly in the dim firelight. She didn't look back when she spoke. "Come." Ethan's legs felt heavy as he crossed the chamber. Each step was a surrender he didn't want to make. He sat at the edge uncertain, his mind racing with questions he dared not ask. The Queen lay down, her posture as straight as a soldier in formation. No softness, no warmth. Just duty even here. Ethan eased down beside her. The stone bed was too large yet. He felt suffocated. The air between them buzzed with unspoken words. He turned his head slightly. "You really don't smile, do you?" For a heartbeat, he thought she might ignore him. Then her voice came, low and even. "Smiles are for children. I was never given that luxury." Ethan stared at the ceiling, his chest tight. She wasn't a monster. She was something worse, someone who had been carved hollow by her own people. And now, somehow he was part of her cage. The silence stretched on until it was broken, not by her voice, but by the sound of steel scratching stone. A shadow slipped through the balcony, blade glinting faintly. An assassin. Ethan's body reacted before his mind did. He rolled off the bed, grabbing the nearest weapon, an alien blade displayed on the wall. He raised it just in time as the assassin lunged. Steel clashed, sparks scattering across the chamber. The Queen was already on her feet, scars glowing like fire, eyes burning cold. "Kill him," she ordered. Ethan gritted his teeth, blocking another strike. He wasn't sure if she meant the assassin, or him if he failed. The assassin's body lay crumpled against the stone floor, blood seeping into the cracks. Ethan's arms trembled, the alien blade still heavy in his grip. His chest heaved with ragged breaths. He had fought before, but never like this. Never in a Queen's chamber. Never with the feeling that his survival meant more than just his own life. The Queen stood over the corpse, her scars glowing faintly as if the fight had awakened something within her. She didn't thank him. She didn't even look at him at first. She simply stepped past him, her bare feet silent against the cold floor, and examined the body. "The council grows bolder," she said at last, her voice like iron. "They send blades into my bedchamber now." Ethan tightened his grip on the sword. "Into our bedchamber," he corrected before he could stop himself. The Queen turned then, her eyes fixing on him. Unreadable. "You claim the word now, human?" Ethan shrugged, still catching his breath. "If I don't, I'm already dead." For a long moment, she studied him, her gaze sharp as steel. Then slowly, she gave the faintest nod. "Perhaps you are learning." Guards rushed in at last too. Late to save their queen, too late to stop the assassin. They froze at the sight of Ethan holding the blade, the body at his feet. Their hands twitched toward weapons, but the Queen raised one arm. "He fights for me," she declared. Her voice rang through the chamber like a decree. "He is mine. Any who touch him, touch death." The guards lowered their weapons instantly, bowing. But their eyes still lingered on Ethan with suspicion, with hate. He knew it wouldn't be the last time someone tried to put a knife in his back. When the guards dragged the body away, the chamber was silent again. Ethan dropped the sword onto the floor, his muscles aching. "I almost died." The Queen's eyes flickered over him. "But you did not." "That's not exactly comforting," he muttered. She stepped closer, her presence heavy, her gaze never breaking. "Do you understand now? Words mean nothing if you cannot survive them. You spoke a vow. Tonight, you proved it with blood." Ethan's heart hammered. He wanted to argue, to remind her it had started as a joke. But deep down, he knew she was right. The court would only respect him if he lived long enough to prove he was more than just a foolish human. The Queen raised her hand suddenly. Ethan flinched, but instead of striking him, she pressed her palm lightly against his chest. Her skin was cold, her scars glowing faintly under the touch. "If you survive tonight, human," she whispered, her voice softer than he had ever heard. "You are truly my husband." Ethan froze. The words sent a chill racing through him, not because of fear, but because for the first time, she hadn't spoken like a ruler. She had spoken like a woman. Before he could respond, a deep horn echoed through the fortress. The walls shook with the sound. The Queen's head snapped toward the balcony. "The council moves now," she said, her tone turning sharp again. "They will storm the throne by dawn." Ethan grabbed the alien blade again, his knuckles white. "And what happens if they win?" The Queen's eyes burned with cold fire. "Then I die, and you will be torn apart as a usurper's joke." Ethan's stomach twisted. He wasn't ready for this. He hadn't asked for this. But the Queen looked at him as if she already expected him to stand. Her scars glowed brighter, her face carved in stone. "Stay beside me, and you live. Leave me, and you die." Ethan met her gaze, his jaw tightening. "You're not making this easy, you know." The faintest shadow crossed her lips, not a smile, not yet, but something close. "I never do." The horn echoed again, louder, joined by the clash of metal in the distance. The fortress was already under siege. Ethan's pulse thundered. His life, his future, everything now hinged on a vow he never meant, a vow that chained him to a queen who never smiled, but who, for one brief second, had touched him like she believed in him, and that terrified him more than the council's blades. The fortress shook with the thunder of war. Screams echoed in the halls, steel clashed against steel, and the council's rebels flooded through the gates like a tide of fury. The air reeked of smoke and blood. Ethan stood at the Queen's side, blade in hand, heart pounding so hard he thought it might tear from his chest. He had fought before, but never with the fate of a throne chained to his name. The Queen walked at the front, her cloak dragging like a storm cloud, her scars glowing brighter than the torches around them. Her voice carried over the chaos. "Any who defy me, die." Her soldiers roared, forming a wall of armor around her. Yet the rebels were stronger, their numbers larger, their rage sharp enough to cut through steel. Ethan fought with everything he had. His blade clashed against alien steel, his arms burned, his ribs screamed. Blood his and theirs splattered across the cold stone floors. For every enemy he struck down, two more came. The Queen fought like living fire. Her movements were sharp, relentless, her glowing scars blazing with every strike. But even she could not fight an empire alone. The council's warlord finally appeared, towering, armored, eyes burning with hate. His voice thundered across the hall. "You shame us with a human. You break the law. You break the throne. Tonight you fall." He hurled his blade toward the Queen, and for the first time, Ethan didn't think he moved. He stepped in front of her, raising his weapon just in time. The blow slammed into him, sending fire ripping through his body. He fell to his knees, blood dripping down his side. The Queen's eyes snapped wide. For a heartbeat, her mask cracked. Her hand caught his arm before he collapsed completely. "Why?" Ethan gritted his teeth, coughing blood. "Because you said I was your husband, and maybe I finally believe it." The Queen's scars blazed, brighter than ever, as if his words had sparked something buried deep within. Her. She rose with a fury the rebels had never seen, her blade striking faster, sharper, fueled by something stronger than duty. The warlord stumbled back under her assault, disbelief flashing across his face. The council shouted in panic. One by one, her soldiers rallied, driving the rebels into retreat. When the last of them fled, silence fell. The fortress was broken, littered with bodies, but the throne still stood. The Queen turned to Ethan. He was on his knees, bloodied but alive, his blade still in his hand. Her eyes locked on his, and for the first time, something shifted. No smile. Not yet, but her lips trembled as if she almost remembered how she lowered herself beside him, her hand pressing against his wound. Her voice dropped low, soft enough that only he could hear. "In my world, vows are chains. But tonight, you broke those chains. Not with duty, not with fear, with choice." Ethan met her gaze, his chest tight. "So what am I now?" "Still just your joke?" The Queen's scars dimmed, her face unreadable. Then slowly she leaned closer. The coldness in her eyes softened, not into weakness, but into something stronger, heavier. "No, human," she whispered. "You are my vow." The chamber was silent. Even the guards dared not speak. The Queen rose then, dragging Ethan to his feet, blood and all, and turned to her court. Her voice thundered through the hall. "The throne stands. The vow stands. This human is mine." And for the first time, her lips curved not into a full smile, not into warmth, but into something close. Something real. Ethan's heart pounded as he realized the truth. His joke had started it. Her silence had bound it. But together, they had rewritten both of their fates. The Queen who never smiled had given him more than power, more than survival. She had given him the unsmiling promise of a future neither of them had ever expected. And Ethan knew. Deep down, this was no joke anymore. Final cliffhanger ending. The Queen has claimed Ethan before the court. But can a vow born from a joke truly hold an empire together, or is the real war only just beginning?